Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the program today, I think we're going to hear an announcement. Ray Hagar has the rundown.
Thanks, Sam. Today's guest is U.S. Congressman Jim Gibbons. Is he really going to run for governor? And when he goes campaigning, is he going to be wearing any Birkenstocks?
And coming up on the Power Pundit panel today, Susan Fisher, Martha Gould, and Jason Geddes. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
How long does it take to get to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park? Well, it's just 10 minutes east of Reno Spark on Highway 80, just minutes from the airport. And under construction is an interchange linking I-80 to TRI's 4-lane USA Parkway. And soon, this parkway will connect Interstate 80 to Highway 50. How far is the world's largest industrial center from your home? It's a lot closer than you think. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
Nevada Newsmakers is sponsored in part by the Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
You bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you, not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they've saved others 50%.
Works for me. Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And we welcome back to the program for the second half of our interview with Congressman Jim Gibbons. Pleasure to have you here as always.
Sam, always a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you, sir. Big announcement today. You want to tell the public what it was?
Yes, I'm running for governor.
You're
Surprise,
kidding.
Isn't it?
Well, we're glad to get this out officially, and we have a whole host of questions here for you. So let's start off with the goofy stuff first, if we can,
all right,
and get it out of the way.
Sure.
A great article by Anjanette Damon earlier this week, and she was writing about how earlier this year you railed against liberal, tree-hugging, Birkenstock-wearing, hippie, tie-dyed liberals and suggested they be bought plane tickets so they could become human shields in Iraq. And what were you thinking when you said that?
Well, you know, first of all, you have to understand your audience, very conservative. I was worried about public support for the troops, basically. I wanted to make sure that our men and women overseas understood that America does support them, that what they were reading about or what they were hearing about some of these individuals who weren't supporting their efforts overseas, that there were those of us who stood behind them. And I will never apologize for supporting our troops.
No, but in hindsight, do you regret making those comments?
Oh, maybe I should have used a different set of language, words out there for describing it. And, you know, we can all have 20/20 hindsight, Sam, and certainly I have made my apologies to anybody I have offended in that, of course, and certainly want to make sure that we understand that everybody has a right to protest. I'm not telling people they can't protest. I just wanted to make sure that our men and women in the service are over there fighting for our freedom so that they can protest, so that we all have the right to speak our minds, so that we all have the right to say what we want to say, have that freedom. And it's only because of the men and women in uniform fighting around this country, and I want to make sure they know I support them.
Why did you deliver that speech? That wasn't even the speech that you were going to deliver. You changed your mind at the last minute, right? And it actually turned out to be somebody else's speech.
Well, unfortunately, we've changed our policies on who writes speeches and how we review those speeches and all of that, and I did apologize. Well, it just seemed when you have two speeches, you choose one. And I shouldn't have chosen that one that was there, and certainly I've given my apologies to Beth Chapman in Alabama. When I found out that it had already been written by her and given by her, I was just ready to make that apology.
Okay, one other one, and then we'll move on to other things here. Around the time of President Bush's corporate-funded inaugural bash, you referred to people who complained about it as being communists on MSNBC. Again, do you regret that comment?
Well, you know, we can always look back with 20/20 hindsight and say we shouldn't have said things we say. That was taken out of context, and what, you know, obviously you can't say anything in jest anymore, and it was said in jest and off the cuff, and certainly something that if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't say it today. But you learn from all of this. I've learned from a lot of this media coverage of everything I say, everything I do, now being subject to a microscope of scrutiny. And but, you know, that's me. I'm just an ordinary guy, born and raised in Nevada with Western heritage, proud of my state, proud of who I am, proud of my record, and I'll let my record reflect who I am.
All right, let's ask the most basic question. Why are you running for governor?
Well, first of all, I think that the years and years of leadership that I've developed, both in the military and my knowledge of Nevada over the years and representing Nevada, have given me an insight into this great state which I love. I call home, and it's the home of my family. My grandsons and granddaughter are here. I think the state is in need of good leadership. This is an open seat for governor. I think I'm ready for it, and I want to make sure that the state is the bright state that we all love and continues to be that way.
Okay, you said, you know, you ran previously, of course, against Bob Miller and lost in that race for governorship. Yes. But you said that you have a greater understanding of Nevada issues now. Be more specific.
Well, first of all, you have to understand that when you represent an assembly district or a senate district or even, you know, a county commissioner, you're limited in your scope of knowledge because of who you represent. When you represent the 2nd Congressional District of Nevada, it's about 98%. It's every county in the state of Nevada. I've been around this state. I've talked to a lot of people. I've met with groups. I've seen a lot of the things that are critical to the future of Nevada. And I think over the last 10 years, having to represent the state of Nevada from rural to urban certainly has given me a new insight into Nevada and what its needs are and what its challenges are. We're the fastest growing state. We're obviously a state that needs to have leadership that's going to continue being the bellwether state of all 50 states in this union.
Okay, for the last 2 terms, we've had a Republican governor in office. It would seem appropriate that he would want to see another Republican in office. You are by far the front runner on the Republican side, and yet the governor's been out there soliciting anybody but you to run for governor. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, I think you'd have to ask Kenny, but certainly I don't object to primaries. I think primaries are good for the candidates. They're good for the voters. They're good for the people of the state of Nevada.
Is this payback for your speech to the legislature 2 terms ago?
I don't think so, because if I reread that, and I have reread that speech many times since then, I was not critical of the governor. I was talking about federal issues. The governor, you know, certainly has his opinions, and certainly everyone else has their opinions. I'll stand on my record with regard to the voters of this state.
Do you plan to talk to him to see if he'll support you?
Oh, I've already made inroads into speaking with the governor, sitting down with the governor. We plan to work with this governor. We plan to find out where his concerns are and how we can bridge those differences, so to speak, and absolutely, we'll sit down with the governor anytime. We're looking forward to it.
Okay, we're going to take a break. More with Congressman Jim Gibbons running for governor right after this.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
Since its creation more than a decade ago, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has focused on 3 goals: preserving water quality, improving water conservation in Southern Nevada, and meeting the community's current and future water needs. Through thoughtful planning, responsible management, and collaboration, it's succeeding. As we move into the 21st century, the authority continues to embrace sustainable water development and efficient water use. That's our promise to Nevada.
My family started this business 27 years ago. We work hard to serve our customers and our community.
But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
Many of the materials we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us cleaner and safer than ever before. To learn more about America's natural resources, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Pepper Mill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Pepper Mill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you dining?
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
Well, the announcement finally came today. Jim Gibbons officially running for governor of the great state of Nevada. You've got 3 degrees. One of them is a master's degree. You served in Vietnam as a pilot, Persian Gulf as a pilot. You worked for the airlines as a pilot. And yet, Chancellor Jim Rogers, the owner of Sunbelt that owns the stations this program is broadcast on, said that he doesn't think you're too bright. He's concerned about your candidacy. He was almost going to run for governor himself and has plans to put $2 million into a PAC to support education issues. Why does he have a problem with you?
You know, I have offered to sit down with Jim Rogers. We will. We're going to look at his questionnaires that he's submitted. You know, like everybody, we all have our opinions. And certainly, I'm a little disappointed because his comments do not further the discussion or the dialogue about education in the state of Nevada. And education is my number one priority. And we're going to sit down with Jim. We're going to find out what his issues are, what he thinks about education, and you know, hopefully we'll resolve some of those differences.
Why do you think he came out like that?
Well, you know, Sam, it's hard to say. He didn't call me. He didn't talk to me before he said that. I have no idea why he would make those comments. And like I said, you know, it's unfortunate that these kind of comments do not further the dialogue on how we solve the problems and the challenges that are facing this state.
All right. What concerns should the university system have, if any, if you become governor?
Well, none. In fact, I want to do a lot of things that Jim Rogers is talking about as chancellor. I want to help get more private funding to our university system. Right now, we're about 86% funded by the state of Nevada. I think we ought to have more private funding going into the state to expand the university to make it truly a university system where we can compete with the universities like California has. And, of course, then we have our community college systems, which I think need to be structured more to promote workers for our industries that we have in this state. You know, right now I talk to many construction owners, and they're having trouble finding qualified, educated people that can go to work on a job site to help build Nevada. We need to change that, and those changes I want to work with the chancellor and the regents of the university system as governor to make sure that we're doing the right thing for our education system in this state.
You're known as a fiscal conservative, and I respect you for that. You've seen extraordinary budget increases in the Silver State over the last couple of years, somewhere in the order of 45%. What do you make of that, and what would you intend to do about it in proposing a budget as governor?
Well, first of all, you know, controlling government spending is probably the biggest challenge that any leader will have in the state of Nevada. We're a fast-growing state. It's got to grow to meet the needs of a new population that comes here every year. There's no doubt that we can look at our government spending. It was 21%, somewhere in between there, this last legislative session. And the growth rate was nowhere near that in the state of Nevada. We need to be able to look at the taxpayers in the state of Nevada and say to them, we're doing our best to make government as efficient and as effective as possible with a minimum request for your taxes out there. So we're going to look at that, and I do support, you know, keeping government spending down to a minimum in terms of increases.
Well, now, would you look at a taxpayer bill of rights?
Well, I think that's the flip side of any coin. It says that it's you ought to restrict raising revenues. You ought to restrict growth in government spending, and I want to look at those, and I'll be certainly taking that opportunity as the time goes on from this day forward to look at those initiatives that are out there. I want to make sure that whatever initiative that the public wants to pass, that the state of Nevada's budget and its priorities meet the request and the expectations of the people of Nevada.
In this last year, we've seen tremendous increases in the growth of gaming taxes and sales taxes that have more than compensated for the amount that we raised in the governor's first budget, Governor Gwynn's first budget. Would you look at rolling back any of those business taxes?
I think anytime you have revenues, Sam, that exceed by the margins we have seen in the state of Nevada recently, that you've got to tell the taxpayers who are shouldering the burden of all of these revenues that we are going to roll back some of the taxes, some of the costs. If you don't do that, governments and legislatures always have a tendency to spend everything that comes into them. And this is why we've got such an enormous growth in government today. So I think once we see what our priorities are, once we establish what our revenue needs are, if we have excess revenues, then we have to start saying to the taxpayers, we're going to roll back the burden on your shoulders.
Okay, let me end on a personal note here. Your wife, Dawn Gibbons, is expected to run for your congressional seat now that you've made this announcement. But there are quite a few people behind the scenes who are saying that her running for Congress would hurt your campaign for governor. How do you respond to those folks?
Well, I think Dawn is a very qualified, very capable individual. She has earned the right to to look out in her future and see any political opportunity that she wants. She served longer than I did in the state legislature before I ran for Congress. She's a very capable, competent person. I also think that she helps us in this race by her campaign. She's out there meeting with groups. We chat all the time about what she discovers out there, what I've known for all these years, and so it's kind of a mutual support group out there, and we learn from each other about Nevada. I think she's a very capable person. I think the state would be very well represented with Dawn Gibbons as a United States Congresswoman.
Now that you've announced for governor, we welcome you to come back and talk more in depth on the issues as time goes along.
Will do.
Thanks for being here. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
How long does it take to get to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park? Well, it's just 10 minutes east of Reno Spark on Highway 80, just minutes from the airport. And under construction is an interchange linking I-80 to TRI's 4-lane USA Parkway. And soon this parkway will connect Interstate 80 to Highway 50. How far is the world's largest industrial center from your home? It's a lot closer than you think. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
The Nevada Beer Wholesalers encourages the responsible consumption of beer. The Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association are sponsors and participants in many community-based efforts such as school education programs, safe ride home, recycling programs, alcohol-free after-prom and graduation parties, safe voting campaigns, and designated driver programs. They are family-owned businesses employing 2,000 Nevadans. They also collect and pay the state excise tax. The Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association, delivering more than just beer.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're joined by our Power Pundit panel today. Susan Fisher is here, the owner of Fisher Consulting, Martha Gould, political activist, and Jason Geddes, former Assemblyman. I have to explain something that's a little unique here. Because of Labor Day and our taping schedule, we actually did an interview with, the interview with Jim Gibbons was taped yesterday and is embargoed until it's airing today. But this pundit panel is here prior to that embargo being lifted. So they have actually not seen the Jim Gibbons interview yet. But we can talk about the fact, certainly, that Jim is now in the race and your thoughts now that he's officially in. Let's start with you, Susan.
Well, it's no big surprise. We knew it was coming, and he's been working at it a long time, and he's using the Gwynn pattern of getting out there early, letting everybody know very early. The only problem that he's going to risk is people getting sick of hearing it.
And I disagree. I mean, he is the front runner. He's been out there. Everybody knows he's the front runner. Everybody has a target on him. Everybody will be taking their shots at him. But to get through the primaries and to get up to the election point, they're going to have to start debating each other and talking to each other as well to distinguish themselves. And I think at that point, he will continue to rise above the rest.
I'm waiting for Richard Perkins to come up with a date here. We've invited Richard several times to be on the program.
One thing,
and they say they'll do it, but we haven't had him here yet.
Richard is doing nothing. And let's get back to Jim for a minute, because I agree he is a front runner. I agree that he will rise above. But being the front runner means he's going to have to work that much harder. And he's going to have to zero in on issues very specific to the needs of the state of Nevada.
Well, one of the issues
he does. I mean, he represents everything, including Clark County in the state, and
a minor
he works
portion
the state.
of Clark County.
Minor portion.
Yeah.
But he's gone the state. He works the issues in the state. I mean,
and one of the big things he mentions in this interview is education. That is one of his priorities.
And it has always been one of his priorities. That, and believe it or not, libraries.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to mend fences with the governor, to have the governor's support, and also to have conversations with Jim Rogers, because obviously if he becomes governor, then Jim Rogers is still in charge of the university system, which one would anticipate. Yeah. He said he's going to be there 3 years, and as we always like to point out, he's the owner of Sunbelt Broadcasting, upon which these programs air. But it'll be interesting to see diplomatically how that moves along.
Yeah. Well, I'm just concerned, I would be concerned for Mr. Gibbons' campaign that his spouse, Dawn Gibbons, is running for Congress. Although they're married, their political views seem to be far and wide different, and I'm just wondering if Dawn's candidacy won't drag down Jim's candidacy for governor. And another thing about Richard Perkins, he's the speaker, but you never hear him speak. It's just kind of ironic. You know?
He's the man who isn't there.
Well, is
he going to run?
Who knows?
Unless you suddenly see Pete Ernott and Billy Vasiliadis supporting somebody else, I think at this point you can pretty much figure he's going to run, and it would be a giant mistake to underestimate him or them at this point. I do want to bring up another point.
Those guys know how to win.
Yes. And the other point I wanted to bring up was in terms of Dawn Gibbons and her effect on Jim's campaign. He is totally supportive of her campaign and thinks she would do a wonderful job in Congress.
I don't
what else is he going to say?
Wait a minute. People underestimate Dawn. They really do. She is one very bright lady.
And she is one heck of a campaigner.
And she's an excellent campaigner. Yeah. And frankly, in this day and age, I don't see a problem with her running, and I don't think it's going to have a negative impact on his campaign.
I don't either. There's going to be some people who are out there and they're taking shots, but I mean, they're two unique individuals. They both know how to campaign. They both know how to tell the message of who they are, and they're both going to do it. I don't think they're going to get in each other's way at all.
I don't either.
I don't either. Personally, I don't think they should both be running for those offices. I think that...
Then doesn't that just get in the way right there, Susan?
No.
Well, it's not the only
I don't
case
think
of this
so.
in the
I
country.
think they'll actually help each other because they'll be out there campaigning for each other as well while they're campaigning for themselves. It just gets the name out there that much more.
How is Jim going to defend Dawn's voting record in
He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. She's never had to defend his voting record. She says that's the way he votes. This is the way I vote.
That's it in a nutshell.
You know, how many marriages agree on everything right down the line anyway?
Well, marriage agreements are different when you're talking about an $800 million tax hike agreement.
But both of them are known to be very independent, and that's probably more reason why people are concerned about Jim Gibbons' candidacy to be governor, is that he is an independent thinker who will do what he wants to do rather than go along with any particular
Jim also understands that he has to work with the legislature. I mean, he understands the legislative process.
Can you imagine if he brings a budget over to the legislature that has tax cuts in it, trying to get that through a democratically controlled assembly? Jason, you were there. What do you have?
Yeah, they're going to fight him, but by the way the revenues are coming in and the things that are going on and the way the tax structure was changed in 2003, he will have that opportunity. I mean, unless something catastrophic happens again, you're going to have to make the decision, do you want to keep spending the money as the revenues coming in? I mean, this last session they did a great job of building up the rainy day fund and securing a lot of the areas that were drained. This next session they'll have the opportunity to say, okay, this is the tax base, we can cut some of these, and they'll have that opportunity, or prioritize. They'll have a Republican Senate and a Democratic Assembly that he can
There
work
is a
with.
balance there. But again, this goes back to something that Carol Villardo has talked about and I've talked about, and that is we take a Band-Aid approach to taxes in this state instead of doing policy first, and then...
Okay, Martha, hold on a second here, because I got to ask Jason a quick question before the show ends, which is, are you planning to run again? Because I understand you moved into a new district, and the rumor is out there that you are planning to run again.
I haven't moved anywhere. I am planning to run again, but I'm still evaluating it with my family and friends.
All right, we'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
South Reno's hotspot for food, fun, and friends is the Tamarack Junction. Play over 480 of the hottest slots and video poker games. Enjoy hot times and sizzling food specials at Sully's Sports Bar, Grill, and Nightclub. Watch your favorite game on one of our jumbo high-definition plasma TVs. Enjoy great food 24 hours a day in the Dining Car Restaurant. Or sample the best hot and cold sandwiches in the Whistle Stop Deli. The Tamarack Junction is your junction for fun. South Virginia and Amati Ranch Parkway. Yeah.
Dave, I'm telling you, it's all in the follow-through.
Actually, Dave, it's all in the putting.
No matter how you swing, it's a classic opportunity to play for local organizations.
That's why we're teeing off in the Kest Classic at Wolf Run on September 15th. Arch Tournament will benefit Care Chest of Sierra Nevada, providing free medical supplies to those in need, and help our local Seroptimists support the community.
Hey, Dave, you've got the perfect score.
Coming up on our next program, Tim Peters, who's in charge of surveillance on the Arizona-Mexico border. Join us then.